Hey friends, thanks for joining me again. Last week we wrapped up our series on COVID questions. Some things have transpired in the last couple of weeks that I feel like are really important to address. Um, George Floyd, a man from Minneapolis, was killed by some police officers here in Minneapolis. And as a result, there's been riots and looting and protests. Most of the violence has died down, but there's still a lot of protesting going on all over the world, actually, as a result of this. This is happening within a mile or two of my home, so it's really, really close to my heart. So I really feel like it's something we need to talk about. And everywhere I go, everywhere I see headlines. And it was interesting, as I opened up my laptop the other day, I saw a headline. And honestly, I didn't read the article, so if you did and it's horrible, I'm sorry. But the headline really caught my eye, and it said, "Legislator demands apology to the scared suburban moms." And then there was like a subtitle, something to the effect that the government should apologize to the suburban moms who were scared because of the riots. And I noticed that because it caused a pause in me, because I'm that suburban mom. I was the scared suburban mom. Many people over the last week have, asked my opinion and how I'm feeling about everything. And to be honest, my answer has been really consistent. I've been super unimpressed with myself. You see, if you're a student of the Enneagram, I'm an 8. So 8s really like to advocate for the underdog. When I feel and I see the best version of myself, I think of myself with a megaphone on a platform railing a crowd. I mean, I feel like if I ever get to do that, I will walk out the fullness of who God created me to be. So in the depths of my soul, I'm an advocate. But you know what? When the looting and the protesting and the riots started, I didn't rise up as an advocate. I actually went and took a nap. I was really scared. I was really overwhelmed. And I was angry. I was angry because my daughter was still in school, and not that we would have avoided the subject, but we would have talked to them about it differently. And she heard about the looting and the shooting. And so the night of our first curfew, she cried herself to sleep thinking someone was going to come into our house and shoot us and take all our stuff. I felt angry that my kids were having to navigate all of this. And you know what, to be honest, I did feel a little angry that the government let this go so long. I do want to pause here. I'm not saying those feelings are good or right. I'm just saying I feel them. So if you feel offended, please keep on listening. So anyway, the day after the curfew, we had already planned to go to Duluth. I was really back and forth about it because all of a sudden this trip that we had already planned felt like we were making a statement. It felt like we were fleeing and not pressing in. Instead, we were retreating and not wanting to deal with it. And you know what? Probably no one cared. It was a planned trip. And even if it wasn't, I don't think anyone would care. But I felt so conflicted the whole time we were there. I felt like, man, we should be in it. We should be at the protest, even though I'm autoimmune and I shouldn't be there anyway. I just felt so conflicted when I was there. Social media was just blowing up. All of a sudden, there was experts on race and diversity and injustice and looting and riots. And I just didn't know what to say or if I should say anything. And when I just sat back to listen, I felt judged for just listening. But on the other hand, I'm not an expert. And I didn't feel like I had a whole lot to offer the conversation. But every statement, regardless if I was engaged in the conversation, felt like a personal attack. I felt so conflicted, so confused, and so overwhelmed. I was so scared. We returned from Duluth and the riots had kind of settled down, at least here in Minneapolis. And again, I just felt like, man, I feel so confused by my reaction. Where was my place in this fight? Did I have a place? Why wasn't I feeling that normal passion that I feel Where was this advocate that usually rises up in me to fight for the underdog? When people were going to clean up the streets, I went into my bedroom and Googled how to help. Yep, I went in my bedroom and actually Googled how to help Minneapolis. And so I pressed in and I said, God, what is going on? What is going on? And I feel like he revealed to my heart that I felt so paralyzed because I was waiting for my emotions to change to do something. You only have to know me for about 30 seconds to know that I'm a super passionate person. So that was what I was waiting for as I was waiting for my feelings to change. I was waiting for the Clark Kent in me to rise up to be Superman. I was waiting for that advocate to rise up above that rubble of fear and anxiety that I was experiencing. I was waiting for that feeling of passion to rise up in me that I so often rely on before I take action. And when I wasn't feeling those things, I felt so confused and so paralyzed. You see, by nature, I'm a very black and white thinker. I have a hard time when I have conflicting feelings. When I have conflicting feelings, I feel paralyzed. I have a hard time believing that I can be happy and sad at the same time, that I can be conflicted and feel a little complacent at the same time. I have a hard time believing that I can be angry and accepting at the same time. And so when I feel that way, I don't know what to do and I become paralyzed. Over the last year or so, I've really started to learn that I can exist in conflicting feelings. I can be happy and sad at the same time. I can feel convicted and a little complacent at the same time. And I can feel anger and acceptance at the same time. I can feel those things. I can feel scared about the unknown, yet seek to understand and do something about it. I can feel angry about the world that my kids have to navigate right now, yet I can still feel that level of anger towards the injustice that Black people have had to experience. I can feel confused about my role and curious at the same time. But one thing I don't get to do is I don't get to be paralyzed. You see, because I've chosen to walk with Jesus. And I think one thing we forget as believers is that our faith is a walk, it's an action. And because I have chosen to walk with Jesus, I have chosen to walk with Jesus as he fights against injustice. I have chosen to walk with Jesus as he extends grace and mercy. I have chosen to walk with Jesus no matter how uncomfortable I get. And because I have chosen to walk with Jesus, I have chosen to walk with him regardless of how I feel. So that's where I'm at today. I'm walking with Jesus. I wouldn't say that I have very clear thoughts or very good ideas about my next step, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to allow those feelings to paralyze me. I'm going to continue to walk with Jesus as he fights against injustice. And as I've started to do that, those feelings, those conflicting feelings that paralyze me have started to dissipate, and I've started to see them more clearly. And you know what? As that has happened, that passion that I've been waiting for has started to rise up in me. And you know what, you guys? It might be time to get the megaphone out.